Welcome to A Scrap Life, a podcast solely focused on the hustlers, grinders, operators, and business owners who live and breathe the scrap metal industry every day. Here is your host, Brett Eckhart.
All right, I'm back. A Scrap Life. I met Gabby at an ISRI convention, I believe, in probably 4 years ago, roughly. It was in Vegas, if I recall. And I don't know if you came up and introduced yourself or I introduced myself. And I believe it was probably around the time that you started at Redwood Materials. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Gabby?
so it's almost 3 years ago,
Yeah.
um, is when we met at ISRI. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, Redwood Materials, like, why does that sound so familiar? And I have a story. So I have a pipe business as well. I mean, and that we sell plastic, HDPE,
Mhm.
and reline materials, and we mostly corrugated steel. But long story short, so I was in the office one day, and somebody said, "Hey, we just got this PO for," and it was a shitload of pipe. Like I can't remember the volume, but it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of pipe, and it was to Redwood Materials. And I was like, Redwood Materials, and I was like, where is it at? And they're like, Nevada. And I was like, that's a pretty big PO. I go, are you sure they can pay their bill? I go, I don't want to be hung with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of pipe. And they're like, no, our accountant, in Brian, he's a pretty smart guy. He goes on, like, looks on the internet. He goes, I think they got money, but I think they'll be able to pay this bill. And I was like, all right, well, I go sell them the pipe, and send the invoice. Long story short, that was my first experience. And yes, you guys did pay the bill, but it was you guys
That's
were
good.
building your facility in Nevada, and that's where that was
Yeah.
going. So when I met you and you said, "Hey, I'm Gabby and I work for Redwood Materials," I started putting it all together. I was like,
Right.
"Oh, the people building the battery recycling facility
Yeah.
up in Nevada." So you were my first contact there, and we hit it off. I love your energy, and I just love how how you go about it. You're not afraid to put yourself out there. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it,
Yeah, I
Gabby.
appreciate you inviting me. I mean, also when you have batteries, you ship them to me too from
Yes,
your other compadre, Brett. So
yes.
United does battery recycling.
We absolutely do. Well, you guys do the recycling, we do the collecting and
Well,
packaging.
that's very
Um,
important, as we all know in the recycling business. You need your aggregators, you need your friends and have their businesses, and because otherwise, I mean, could you imagine picking up a box or a pallet everywhere? It's a nightmare. So,
well, when you and I first met, it wasn't as common of a deal. I mean, it just in the last few years, it's really kind of starting to pick up steam, and that's really just because there's more and more and more of these batteries being produced. But I remember I got your card, and I went back, and Brett Wells does all our production, manages that for all of our facilities, and he's awesome, by the way. And
yeah, great guy.
um, and he's and I pretty much sell all the material, but I was like, hey, and he goes, man, we're starting to run into some of these batteries. And I was like, oh, I know who you can talk to. And so I had your card, and I said, get hold of Gabby, and she'll get you taken care of. And that's kind of how the relationship started. And now, I mean, people ask us, where we go with all of our batteries, whether it's the
Well,
NiCads, the lithium-ions, all of them. I said, get hold of Gabby, she'll get you taken care of. So
yeah,
it's
yeah, we definitely the early days in the battery business, I think for most people, but it's really going to be a free fall at some point, especially with all these cars that have been manufactured. And
yeah,
so I think we're going to see a lot more. I mean, even an ICE vehicle today has three computers in it. So
yeah.
yeah, and they have the LCD screen, which is a battery, right? So there's all these components in the cars that are creating a lot of challenges, I would say, in the auto shred business, primarily, that we really aren't thinking about.
Yeah, I feel like and you and I just talked a little bit about your history, but I think it behooves us to kind of I love asking people how they got into our industry, because either you fall into it,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
born into
I
it,
definitely
like
came unwillingly, I think.
yeah, I think some people are forced into it, but I always love to say, like, how the hell did you end up here? But I know I was born in it too. Like I had no choice.
No, you had a choice. You liked it.
But no,
It's
I
a
loved
fun
it.
industry,
Yeah.
like once you're in it.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So you were telling me earlier, go ahead. You born and raised in California?
No, I was born in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
sorry.
a bulldog.
Went
I
to
was
school
actually
there.
born at the university. My parents were doing their PhD work at University of Georgia.
Okay.
Um, and so my younger sister and I were born there. My older sister immigrated to the US with my parents. So my parents are born and raised in Chile, and then they moved to Venezuela. There was like an oil boom in the 70s, great economic situation. They both moved there. My dad ran a consulting company. My mom worked for the National Bank of Venezuela. And then obviously the economy went sideways, and so they applied to do their PhD work here. So my sister was born in Venezuela. So I jokingly say we all had different passports at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are a true international family.
I love it. I
So
love it.
yeah, and so born in Georgia, and then my dad, once he got his PhD work done, graduated, and then went to elementary school in Texas because he taught at University of Arlington, Texas, for a while, and then from there we moved to California because he got a job at Sacramento State University. And I jokingly say that if you put me around enough Southern people, my twang will come back.
So
But
how
when
old
you
were
move
you when
from,
you moved to California?
I was I was 11.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Okay.
was really like, I'm a 50-50 kid,
Yeah,
like
you're a
born in the
mix.
South.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are like, where are you from? I'm like, that's kind of a tough question. I'm like, I mean, some people, I speak Spanish fluently. My family's from South America. I grew up in the South, went to, high school and
Yeah.
college on the West Coast. I feel like a little bit of everywhere.
And so you're in California, you go through your high school years, and your first job is where? You were telling me
My
when you moved
first
to
job was
Nevada.
at 11.
Okay.
Is I think we kind of talked about, just being a motivated human, and I didn't like to ask for anything. So I got a job in the summer babysitting 3 kids. I was 11 years old. I can't believe anybody let me watch their kids at 11 now that I have children. But
And now that I
uh,
have an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, I know that seems
I
crazy.
feel like I must have been pretty convincingly responsible. Or
Yeah.
maybe she didn't realize I was 11. Like, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I watched her kids all summer while she went to work. And then during the school year, I wasn't allowed to work because my parents were very into education. So they're like, grades were a big deal and wanted us to play sports and stuff. So, but every summer I worked for her. I mean, sometimes 6 days a week. And I remember my mom found this shoebox full of money and was like, "Why do you have all this money under your bed?" And I'm like, "I don't know what to do with it. I can't spend it. I can't drive a car. I don't
Yeah.
actually need anything. I just liked that I had it."
Uh,
um, this is like the 90s, early 90s. So like nobody, if your parents didn't take you somewhere, there's no Uber. You
yeah.
weren't going to the mall by yourself at 12. So we went and opened a bank account. And then that was like probably my first job, first job. I did that forever. I wasn't allowed to get a job until I was 18. So my parents were very much like wanted you to be a kid and have that experience.
Because they were of the thought process you're going to work the rest of your life, so
Yes,
you might as well
that was their
be.
thought process. They're like, you're going to work the rest of your life. There's no reason for you to spend time. You should spend time on your academics. You should do like personal growth and development, sports, things like that. They were all for.
It's a tricky
Um,
balance, right? Like and now that you're a mom and you're raising kids, you're trying to encourage them to understand how the world works, but you're also like how the world works, so it's like you want them to enjoy being a kid because you're going to be an adult for a long, long time where you have a lot of bills and a lot of responsibilities. So
yeah.
if you can just so I'm always fighting that battle internally as well. Like how do I balance that out? But go ahead. So your parents, sounds like they were of the mindset like let you be a kid
Well,
and
I
do
mean,
your
they were
thing.
like, go to school, get good grades, get into the best college you can get into, have a career. And Gabby's not very linear, so that really
Yeah.
didn't work very well for me. I I graduated from high school and I was 17 still. I didn't turn 18 until like later in June. And so I went to get a job. So I was like, I get a job. I was like really excited about this job thing. I got my license when I was 18. I wasn't allowed to drive a car until I was 18 because when you're 16, most people don't think about these things. So my parents were like very educated people. We were a liability. If we did something, they would get sued. And so my dad was like, there's a bus. There's no reason for you to drive. You don't have a job to drive to. I'm not going to pay for you to just drive around with your friends and basically do nothing and spend money. So we all got a license around 17, 18, right, when we were graduating. So I could drive, and I was really excited about that because I'd been wanting to drive since I was like 10. So like,
yeah, I love it.
So I drove to the mall. I walked in, I filled out an application. I wanted to work in the cosmetics department, mostly because I wasn't allowed to wear makeup because my mom's very Catholic. And so it wasn't allowed to dye my hair. I was allowed to. So your girl was going crazy. She was like, freedom is like right here. Like I could taste it. So I went, I got a job. And they hired me like within a week. I did 2 interviews. And then they realized I didn't turn 18 for like a week or something. They're like, wait a minute, when's your birthday? Like, it was funny. I was getting onboarded to this job and they're like, didn't realize
that you weren't 18 yet.
I wasn't 18. I'm like, you guys can't read. Like, I didn't lie. My birthday was clearly coming up. Anyway, but it was like, they just decided to just prolong the onboarding a week. And then I worked in cosmetics. I made a career out of that actually for many years. I moved to Nordstrom's. I worked for major brands. I worked for Estee Lauder companies. I tried to go to college right out and I wasn't into it. I just totally flunked out first semester. I was having way too much fun, blah, blah, blah. So I lasted at my house exactly 1 semester because my parents were like, you don't go to college, you don't live here.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not a student anymore. It's fine. Yeah. You don't have to do what we say, but you can't live here.
Yeah. I've had that conversation with my sons as well, just so you're aware. Like, hey, it's your life. You turn 18. Once you graduate high school, I encourage you to live it the way you want to. Understand, here's like some good paths for you, but it's your choice.
So I did the early, I call it still adolescence because your brain doesn't fully actually chemically develop till you're 25. So I mean, the training wheels came off. I moved out. I got a roommate, had a lot of fun, didn't go to school. After about 6 months of it, I was like, I'm like wasting time, which I realized, like, I just was lucky that I was that kind of kid that was just kind of like, oh, what's my next thing? Like, I've done the party thing. I've done the roommate like thing. So then I actually got my own apartment and I moved in by myself because I decided that people were like too much of a distraction. Like I was a weird kid.
Yeah.
I enrolled in school. I paid for it myself. I got a discount because I went to Sac State, but I had to pay for it because my dad said that I had wasted his money that first semester. He's like, I'm only going to help you if you show you're committed. So, yeah. So I did. So I paid for my first couple semesters, I would say. And I worked full time and I went to school Tuesdays and Thursdays and I worked the other 5 days a week. And I put myself through school. It took me a little bit longer. It took me 5 years because I wasted a year of doing nothing.
Well, you didn't do, I always think you got to give yourself like a little bit of credit though, right? Because you didn't just do nothing. And this is where I say, like with my kids is, I mean, the school's going to be there no matter what, right? If it's going to be there. And it sounds like your parents, like they raised you you had a good head on your shoulders. You just knew you weren't ready to make that commitment. And I've always believed, like, for myself, like I'm anti-committal. My wife and I've had this conversation a lot. I once I commit, like I'm all in. Like I'm like burn the bridge, like burn the ships, like I'm in, right? It just takes me a while to get to that point because I know once I do it, then I'm committed. I'm gonna do it. And so I prefer like to taste and make sure that's something I want to do. I'm like more of a freelancer, I think, to a certain extent, because, and I think that's the kind of, it seems like in talking to you, there's a lot of similarities. Like you were like, well, I don't know that I want to, like, I'm going to go try and do the job thing, live my life. Now that I got the parents off my back, I can kind of go be free. And
Right.
then that freedom, I think giving your kids or whoever that freedom to kind of express themselves, if you gave them all the good lessons and they got a good head on their shoulders, they eventually come back to,
I agree. I think so
center
too.
line, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's probably a lot. Like, you got to give yourself some credit. Like, you got out and you got a taste of what the real world was. And you're like, I think I can do this, but if I have maybe a degree or I have this behind me, maybe I can get a little
You know,
further.
the degree for me wasn't, I was never really worried about earning money. If that probably sounds weird. I mean, look, I learned about supply and demand when I was 5 years old over cookies with my dad.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I was a pretty smart kid. School really bored me, especially high school. Like I was like over it. So I was never just a super academic student, but I was a curious person and I really
okay,
liked people. And I really like to do stuff. Like I'm not a person you can be like, oh, like I can read anything. I taught myself to do that. I taught myself to sit down and read really boring things because I thought I wanted to go to law school, which was part of what I was an English major. I was going to go to law school, right? It's like kind of
yeah,
and I loved to read. I taught myself to love it. I never picked up a book and probably read straight through a book until I was in college. I'd read, right, because you're forced to
yeah,
do it, but it
yeah,
was
yeah.
not like if you ask, my my dad today, he'd be like, we never saw her with a book in her adolescence. Like she was not, and she was a
You're more of
social
a
kid.
music kid. Like, you listen to
Not
music
even music.
or
I was a
just
social
doing.
kid. I liked to play sports and I liked to socialize, and
Okay,
that was my jam.
yeah,
I love to play tennis. I played rugby in high school. I played softball. I mean, I just, whatever it was, I was down, right?
yeah.
So I still love racket sports. My husband and I still play racket sports. But anyway, so pickleball, which, all old people have to play pickleball. By the way, it's
I
really good
still
for
to
your
this day I've
cognitive
never played,
ability.
but I'm sure my day is coming.
No, 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 no. It's really, racket sports are really good for your cognitive ability. They actually reduce the amount of Alzheimer's and dementia over time
Okay,
because
I'm
you
in.
have to like think and move. It's like
Yeah,
thinking and movement at the same time and hand-eye coordination, which all are stimulating to your brain, to your cognitive function. So play a racket sport. It's really
the thing.
important.
Okay, I trust you.
But anyway, neither here nor there. You and I can pivot too easily. So yeah, so I put myself through college, was still working, moved to Nevada by then I was working for MAC Cosmetics. A lot of people know that brand. It's like a big brand. It was really popular in the 90s and the 2000s. Um, and they were opening stores in Nevada and they had jobs. And I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I can't live in California. I'm never going to buy a house here. It's too expensive to live here. The taxes are too high. They were going to pay me what I was making in California to be a manager for them in Nevada. So it was like, it's an immediate pay increase because I'm not paying the 14% California taxes. So I just packed up my U-Haul, broke up with my boyfriend because he was collateral damage over taxes, and I drove to
You were
Nevada.
expensive. If I got to hang around you, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. I know. I love it. I love the story. Keep going. I'm interested.
well, by then I was 27, right? And it was, gosh, it was 2007, and the economic crisis happens, right? Like 2008 hits.
Hmm.
And I met my husband now probably a couple months after I moved to Nevada. We've been together ever since.
Okay.
So, got married 6 months after we met. Like it was totally crazy. Nobody thought I would ever get married. So he's a pretty special person.
Yeah.
I'm a very
Yeah.
good leaver, Brett. So, so I'm
Yeah.
very good at
Okay.
dissolving a relationship or a contract if needed. So he was like,
I think you and I got a lot in common, but yeah.
so anyway, he was in construction. It was really bad economic times. Everybody was getting laid off everywhere, including in retail, right? So I'd
Oh
been
yeah.
in
Retail, I
retail.
feel like got like almost hit the hardest
Um,
other than construction.
yeah, so that happened, and eye-opening for me, right? Like 27 years old, had put over 10 or 11 years into this career, had traveled, doing makeup at events in San Francisco and Bay Area and photo shoots. I mean, I could show you my crazy adolescent life. Runway shows. I mean, did a lot of cool stuff, had a really great career. It really wasn't conducive to raising kids and having a family and like being in one place, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm really a nomad. Like I enjoy moving around. So the job I have now is, and even buying scrap, I was always on the road. But after that, I decided I needed to chill. So I took a job at Wells Fargo and I worked in banking for a couple years. Had Camila.
Doing what, like a teller or like just like
yeah, you got to start from the bottom to get to I mean, I had no banking experience, right?
Yeah.
I was managing a branch within a year. But yeah, I did all the jobs. All of them. I was banker, I was a teller, I was only a teller for like 3 months. It was that was such a job.
You got to start. That's how you got to start from the bottom.
I mean, and the jobs were scarce back then. It wasn't like people weren't hiring. There was no major economic development. The housing prices had crashed completely. People had lost. I mean, you remember?
Yeah.
Scary times. The scrap market collapse. I found that out later.
That was the year I got married. I know. I mean, I got married in '08, and I went from we got married in July, and the market, we were selling iron for we were selling everything for a lot of money.
Yeah,
and then
I heard it was like $400 or $500 a ton.
Yeah.
Shove it in a container and ship it.
2 months later, I was married, and our business, we couldn't even sell scrap. I was like, well. Okay, you go from hero to zero, just like that, and you better figure it out because the world isn't stopping for you to sit around and cry about it, So
no, that's how I felt too. So I just pivoted, right? I can pivot, and I'm not afraid to not be the smartest person in the room. It's not. I'll figure it out. Is sort of my motto. I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. Just like day to day, figure it out, make decisions. Good, bad, whatever they are, you just got to keep going forward.
People are afraid to change. I've come to realize the older I get, people are afraid that, like you said, to pivot. They're just afraid of the two things you just said that you're not. I'm not afraid to not be the smartest person in the room, so I'm not afraid to suck for a while, right? Like I'm good. Like I'm good with sucking at something that I'm trying to figure out. The big lesson I'm trying to teach my kids. You're going to suck at the beginning, but the kids that are good are the kids that have been doing it, right? So go do that. But the also thing is, if you don't like it, move on. Like if it's not your jam, you can always come back to it, right? It doesn't mean if you leave, it doesn't mean that part is gone forever. The lessons you learn, whatever it is, like if you decide maybe I actually did like that more than I thought, then go back. But you could leave now and go try and figure it out. Go do something different. And if the grass isn't as green as it looks over there, that's fine. You can always go back. But you got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to do something different, or else nothing's gonna change. Like you got to be willing to change. So a good character.
My famous line on the change is, in nature, if you don't evolve, you die, and in business, if you don't evolve, you die.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the old, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? You got to be growing. You got to be putting some new limbs on and doing something different, or else, the other tree's going to just take you over, and they're going to shade you out. You're not going to get any. You're not going to get any love. So you got to grow.
Yeah. So banking, and then was working in the bank, and had at that point I was dealing with sort of higher end clients. Had a client come in. And we had moved to Fernley because the houses were so cheap. So we bought our first house because the housing prices were like $97,000. Like it was like my mortgage was like $560. It was like ridiculous. Yeah. So that was a come up, right? Because before then you were looking around and you were like, 2006, you were like, I'm never going to buy anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, we bought the house. Jed's always worked in Reno at an engineering firm here in town. And then I was always the moving target. And so we bought the house, he did not want to move from Fernley. Do you know where Fernley,
I
Nevada
know where
is?
it's at.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So think about it in 2010. There was literally a Walmart and some houses out there.
Yeah.
By the way, greatest people on the planet, still have great friends there, still best friends with our neighbors. Like our kids ran around and just were free out there, and they rode golf carts around and quads. And it was just
You're in
a
the
cool
middle of the
place.
desert. I mean, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you're like, it is what it is. It's a
You
small
rode
town, middle of the desert.
horses,
Yeah.
people had farms, and it was just a really cool place to be and raise a family. And I moved to the bank because we did have a branch there. One day I had a client come in. He owned the scrap yard in town, right?
Yeah.
He had just bought it, just acquisitioned it, whatever. He also ran a trucking company in the Bay Area. He ran the auto shred residue out of main shredders to the dump, right? Also had a heavy equipment division. So he rented out heavy equipment. And he also provided torch cutters for big scrap yards in the Bay, like labor services. He had all these businesses. So we talked a lot. He had some like stuff going on internally, needed bank statements, really needed a forensic accountant, like needed some questions answered. Sat with him for a long time, because that's really the job when you manage a branch, right? Is you just help clients with their questions. And then he said thank you and he left, and that was it. And he came back like 2 weeks later, and we sat down, and he wanted to talk about some things. And he said, I want you to come work for me. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I was like, you're a family owned business. Like, you guys are obviously having some issues. Like, this sounds horrible. Like, it just sounds horrible to me.
Where do I sign? This sounds horrible. Is there a sign-on bonus? Go ahead.
And he was he's very charismatic, man, very nice, Steve was. And he was like, just think about it. And I was like, okay. I'll think about it, Steve. And then he left because he was here every couple months, because he also had a scrapyard in Louisiana. He had all kinds of stuff going on. Basically an investor, right? Like he runs multiple different businesses. And so comes back early in the day, actually, because like right when we opened, he said, you should come have dinner with me and my partners tonight. And I was like, Steve, I don't understand why on earth, like, I don't know anything about what you do. Like, I just don't think this is a good idea. He said, no. He said, I think this is the right fit. I want you to come do this. He said, I have a facility right here that you can work out of, and we can work together and whatnot. So, anyway, so I went and had dinner, and I liked the people that were there, and I got a good vibe. And then, we negotiated terms, and I started working for him. And it was just like, it was literally like a college education in scrap, because he did everything, overnight. I really started as the office manager and just like cleaning up accounting. I worked with like building, because back then there was, all this software and all this stuff that exists today that's really helpful for people. None of that really existed.
Yeah,
we were running off of QuickBooks, and it was
QuickBooks, and hand entering all your tickets for the day.
Yeah. And so and then we would sell parts, and there would be cash floating. Like, so there needed to be sort of an organization and a filing system, and then I really just organized the inflow and the outflow, really built a P&L, really just, and then one day I was like, after I had been in the office for probably 4 or 6 weeks, I was like, I don't know what any of this is. So then I went out into the yard, and Jimmy,
so what year is this, Gabby? What year is this, like, roughly?
Like, it's like mid 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Jimmy the Tooth was our non-ferrous guy in the yard. Jimmy had one front tooth. I loved him. He was the greatest guy ever. He had worked at Schnitzer in Reno forever, like years and years and years. Got tired of driving. When they opened that yard over there, he went to work over there because he lived out there. But he was, man, that guy could tell you anything. He could tell you the recovery of any wire, any aluminum. He could tell you 6,000, 5,000. Like he didn't need a niton, right? Like this guy had been doing this. He was the niton.
Yeah.
He could scratch something and just have an argument with you right there at the scale if you're trying to sell him something he didn't like. Like it was. Anyway, so I just loved him because he was so smart. And most people probably wouldn't look at him and think that. But he just, so we went to a car and he's like, pops the hood and he just starts saying, here's your battery. Like, I didn't know. Like, I had never even changed the battery or the oil in my car. I had no clue how anything worked mechanically. I'm an English major.
Yeah.
I am useless in this scenario, Brett.
But you were willing to learn.
He's like, this is your radiator. And he's like cranking things out and just ripping this car apart in front of me. He's like, that's a brass radiator. And I was like, oh, is there another kind? And he goes, yeah. And like, so he's starting to teach me brass aluminum radiators. It was a 6-month education of like just hanging out with Jimmy. And so then I would start making commodity codes because I had like a little notepad and I would write down what Jimmy said. Okay, he pulls an engine block out of the car. There's an aluminum engine block. There's a steel engine block. And so then as he started to teach me all the things that exist in the commodity space, I would go back and in the accounting, I would start to build codes and like inbound and outbound sales. And then I could really understand what I was matching when we would sell commodities versus what we had in inventory. But without that component, it was like I was just doing things blind, really.
Yeah.
Right. Like I knew what I knew, but it wasn't useful, in my opinion, until I really learned what a scrapyard does. And from then it was like everything. I just did everything. I did the paperwork. I mean, I dealt with the DMV. I organized that. I organized, contracts.
Out of curiosity, what did your husband think when you said, hey, I'm going to leave Wells Fargo. I'm going to go hang out with Jimmy the Tooth. Yeah. And I mean, obviously you didn't know Jimmy the Tooth when you made the decision, but
I had a better one. I had Gigi. Gigi was born and she went to the scrapyard with me.
Oh, yeah.
The first 8 months she was alive.
Oh, yeah. I bet your husband was like, speaking of not being afraid to make a pivot, I bet he was kind of wondering if that was the best decision. But so I would assume though now he looks back on that and he thinks it was a good decision.
Oh,
he's happy with your decision?
It's an interesting life, right? Like it was scary. It was a scary pivot. I mean, Wells Fargo, right? Fortune 500 company. I'd worked for many Fortune 500 companies. Typically that's where I was working. Insurance, 401k, blah, blah. Like, go work for, mom and pop scrapyard and see what I can learn. It was so fun. It was honestly like, for me, it was like an adventure, which I'm always down for. Like I'm always down for an adventure. And I told him, I was like, worst case, you know how you said you can always go back. I was like, look, worst case doesn't work out. I hate it. I'm miserable and I go back. Well, I stayed 4 years there, traveled all over the West Coast. We did projects, did demolition projects even, started to learn about demolition and all the commodities we pull out of buildings and how the excavator works, learned how to operate equipment, learned how to
estimate. I feel like demolition's like the money's made on the estimate. Like if you estimate how it's done, but
walked some of the coolest projects on the West Coast. I mean,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So 4 years there. Then what's next? If that's 2011, that puts you like at 15.
Yeah,
15, somewhere in there.
Sims. We had sold material to them, and my friend Matt, who was our buyer, was like, "Hey, we're looking for somebody." And at that point, I felt like I had learned and done what I was going to do. It was a family business. Like I wasn't going to get inherited, right? Like that wasn't going to happen. I was probably going to get taken care of and stay there, but it was a long road.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need a buyer. And in the Sparks yard, because, Sims has a yard here in Reno. And I was like, yeah, sign me up. Like, I'll do it. So I gave him my resume and he took it. He's like, oh, I'll submit it for you. Never got a call. And at that point, the commercial director that was at Sims apparently just didn't think that I was going to be a good fit, didn't even call me. So I called him and I left him a message, said, hey, look, I think you should give me a call. I know you don't know me. You've never talked to me. I said, but I think it'd be a mistake if you don't at least meet me and have a conversation. And that was it. And he called me the next day. He was like, I decided that you were somebody I needed to talk to because you sound like you are motivated, right?
Yeah.
So the only reason I got the job was because I made that phone call. And then they hired me like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I gave them my background and whatnot. And I was there 8 years. So I got to build a yard for them here. We did a major expansion project into Fernley on a railway. I bought scrap in Northern California, Northern Nevada. I bought auto shred down the 99 corridor, which is like a zillion little automotive scrap yards. Those guys are all my friends. I love those guys, all of them. I still talk to some of them to this day. And it's a small industry is what I realized very quickly. And it's really just about relationships. And that was always who I was. So it just suited me.
You're always a person, you said that you were never, you and I were talking previously before we hit record, but you were someone that was never afraid to ask or to say like what you wanted, right? And I think that's a valuable lesson within this podcast, within this conversation is just if there's something you want or something you're interested in, you can't anticipate that everybody knows that you're interested in or you want it. For all they
Right.
know, you just filled out the resume like everybody else. But if there's something that you want in life, whether it's a job or anything, right? Like you got
Right.
to pursue it with a little bit of vigor, or else, I mean, how do you ever expect to get anywhere? How do you ever expect
Yeah.
anybody to, understand that that's something you are really interested in? Like, because
Right.
when the economy's, I would assume you made that transition in like 15-ish, 16, right
Yeah,
now.
it got ugly
Yeah.
again. That's
That
right when it
market, the 15 market was fucking hard. People
got
don't
you.
really realize like that was
We
an
were
election
paying
year.
0 for steel.
Exactly. And I think
It
people
was
don't
like
really realize that
a
we've been
great
through
way to
this
come into the scrap market
cycle
for a
of
new job, guys.
a few
I
times.
can't buy steel.
Like they're looking for someone that's excited about the job. Like, because you're going to have to go out there and say, hey, we can't pay you. We can just
Yeah.
pick the stuff up. And
Yeah.
I learned that. So I learned that lesson in 2008 or when it crashed. So there was a guy that worked for my dad. His name was Greg Brown. I put him on our wall of fame because he was basically retired out of the glass business. My dad recruited him in to come to our business, and we were just a little, obviously, mom and pop shop. And Greg came from the glass business, handwritten, everything. Like, reminds me of when you were telling your story. And he was basically, my dad tasked him with going finding commercial account businesses. But he's like,
Right.
Brett, you have to remember, like when I started in 2000, we couldn't pay anybody for scrap. I just had to go and be like, hey, our bins are painted and they're nice, and we pick them up. Like,
Yeah.
like
Like,
that
here's your
was
service.
his
Yeah. We
sell.
just,
That was his sell, right? So when 2008, 9 rolled around, it was like he was back in his like glory days. Like, yeah, fuck, I know how this goes. We just go around and tell people that we can pick their stuff up,
yeah.
And he taught me that because I came in '04 and '04 to '08 was great. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I've never been in a market where I'm working full time where I just have to go tell people I can just pick your stuff up. I can't pay for it. So
I mean,
that,
think about charging. Just think about how
yeah,
broad Nevada is. We
yeah.
couldn't just pick it up if it wasn't in Reno. If you're in Carson City, we were going to have to charge you the freight to get it to us. Like,
Yeah.
that's another 30 miles, you know?
That's a
So,
great lesson, and
yeah.
so you got to learn, you got to go through that and not get a job change at the same time. So I can only imagine those that's but just for real quick, the lesson, if you want something, ask for it or don't be afraid to tell people you're interested. It doesn't make you uncool to say I'm interested in something. Like I think that nowadays kids they don't want to
Oh,
say
yeah.
they're interested because that's not cool. Like they should just know I'm interested and they should call me. Like, no, that's not
Mm-mm.
the answer. The answer is you express interest and you show interest that you want to do something. That's the answer. But go
Right.
ahead. You're that
Well,
person, Gabby. You figure it out.
I also love that, like, I love to, I jokingly say, I don't know if this is like my magical, like, female component, but I always ask a lot of questions. I try to ask more questions than anything else when I'm in somebody's yard or facility or whatever. Because number one, I don't know what they do, and I don't know. I, I always say buying scrap is a lesson in how it works because I've ended up in potted plant manufacturers who want to recycle equipment. I've ended up in turnings. I've ended up in like large machine shops that are machining medical grade, stainless syringes, and it's like a massive building. Everything you can think of, wire. I mean, there's a cannery down here that was really cool. Like they just make food cans, right? So you have to come into the job just saying every day you're going to walk into something and really just be the idiot in the room because you don't do any of that, right? So you don't really know what their needs are. So you have to just say, hey, like I can tell you that steel, but tell me how it comes out. Tell me how you package it. Tell me what kind of bins you can reach, what kind of equipment you have here in this factory to get service. And so you do a lot more of asking questions and learning about what people do than you are telling somebody. And I think that that's also a big thing is you have to be curious and you have to be willing to learn every day because you're going to run into something every day that you've never seen. Right.
Yeah. Which is it's like the gift and the curse, right? The gift is you don't know you haven't seen everything, so it's kind of cool. Like it's a new adventure, right? So a person like you who loves adventure, it's great because you're like, yeah, I've never seen that. I don't know what's going on. I'm interested, right? If you're curious, it's a great gig. If you're a curious person, the plant tours,
but if you're
all the
somebody who
stuff.
needs stability and structure and
It may not be the right gig for you. Yeah, you
it's
should go
very
be an
stressful.
accountant.
Yeah, you should be an accountant.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT is going to be our accountant, so be careful. There's certain jobs I think you should.
There's they find a job that a computer can't do.
Yeah,
At least
you still need some human finessing.
Yes. All right, so you're buying. You made the switch to Sims back to being working for a big company again, right?
That was easy. I mean, because like I'd already done that, so I knew what that was.
Yeah.
But I was on my own. I was out here on my own in the first few years. California was over there. So really my coworkers were my clients. Like I drove out to Battle Mountain and would hang out with the guys to sell, Atlas selling scrap out there. And I would drive around all over Nevada and just meet people, say hello, all these little scrap yards, dismantler yards, machine shop, think about big industrial companies, worked with them too. Just whatever. Anybody who I realized had scrap was on the table for me. And I just would walk in. I would get lost a lot. It's another perk of being a girl. You don't get kicked out as quickly as you do as a guy.
Yes. We have a female that runs our Southeast yards. Yeah. We have a female that runs our Southeast yards. Her name's Amy, and Amy's a rock star. And I kind of pinched her from somebody that we were going into an area and that I want to put a yard in. I was going to buy that yard. The guy ended up kind of backing out on me at the last minute. But I had met Amy because we were doing business with them. I was buying their scrap. And I was like, Amy, are you really going to stay here? I go, we're going to put a yard in here and we're going to compete. I go, you either come work for us or we're going to, compete against you. I said, and you're too good to be here. Like you need to be on our team. And I kind of recruited her and she's just like you, right? She's not afraid to make a change if she feels like it's a good opportunity and she'll walk in anywhere, introduce herself and girls there's a certain, in our industry or in any industry, really, like if you're confident and you walk in and you're willing to ask questions, like you're not going to get kicked out as quick.
The psychology is like people just like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. You just got to get about nothing. I will say that Nevada's a tough market. I mean, and the dismantlers that were my friends here, especially the car guys, they weren't going to sell you anything the first day you walked in. They weren't going to sell you anything the second day you walked in. It was like you were going to come visit them every 2 weeks on a rotation, and you're going to bring those guys a sandwich and a cup of coffee and some donuts and whatever else you came up with that thought was going to buy love.
Yeah.
And then after probably about 6 to 12 weeks, you might buy a load.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how
trial.
it was.
A
Yeah,
trial
yeah,
load.
exactly. Because they want to make sure they get paid and they want to like the driver and they want to, it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing, right? It
Uh-huh.
wasn't just me. It was like I had to like, and when I realized that, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Because it's like when you finally buy something, it's like your best day ever, right? Because you're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
man, I've been talking to Tom for freaking 15 weeks. And like, I know all his kids' names. I know the uncles he doesn't like. I know his grandma. I know his wife. I know how many times he's gotten to a fight the last 3 weeks with his wife. I know where I know they don't eat turkey, that they like to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I haven't bought a load, Brett.
Break me off a load, Tom. Just give me something. Give me a load of cars, please. Like, just help
Yeah.
me out
So
here.
anyway, so I think I always jokingly say, like, I eat rejection for breakfast. It doesn't bother me. Like, it's
Yeah.
the failure, the success is in the failure. If you think that winning matters, it's not winning. It's how many times are you willing to hear no and get up and do it again?
Yeah.
That's really the success, because you're only going to win that 10, 15. I mean, the stats are you ask 10 times and you'll get one, right?
Hmm.
That's a lot. That's
Maybe.
a 90% failure rate, right? Like just
Yeah.
right off the bat on a stupid, simple number. So I'm like, you gotta like failure in sales. Like, and I've been doing that since I was 17 years old,
Yeah.
right? Like
I feel like you came from you had an advantage in A, your personality, and B, you had an advantage on the sales side. You've
yeah,
been in sales and you understand what that process can look like, when you're winning and when you're losing. I think that there's a big advantage, and that's what one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because not everybody was born in the industry, right? And so, but I think most people like that listen to are probably in the industry. But I still like when I talk to young people, I encourage like people that are trying to come into our business. I'm like, you don't have to know scrap. Like we'll teach you that,
yeah,
right?
that's the
I
easy
just
part.
can't teach you sales, or I can't teach you like we hired our banker a couple years ago, and he's awesome. He crushes it. He came from the banking, right? We hired our
Yeah,
banker, just like your guy. We
yeah,
hired our banker, and he's amazing. Um, and there's just certain things like I can't teach you how to be a good human, but man, if you are, we can
mhm,
get you in here and we can do great things. I can't teach you sales. That I can't teach you the calloused mind of being willing to hear no 100 times to get one yes. Like
yeah,
I can't teach you that, but if you're willing to, you'll have a lot of success here because you're gonna get told no a lot, and when you
yeah.
do get the yes, it's gonna feel amazing, right? So,
I yeah, I
you hit the
agree.
nail on the head.
I just I like the challenge of something. If it's too easy, it's almost not even fun now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because when you're young, you're like, you just want to win. Like, you know what I mean? Like anything, like,
yeah,
right? Because you just want to do well. And so you have this sort of perspective of like, oh, yes, I like hit the ball and I made it, to
How do
third
you?
base.
I have a question for you because you have two daughters. You have similar ages to my two sons. And how do you teach your kids? What do you tell them in a where we talk about social media and we talk about how everybody's only showing their wins all day long, right? And it feels like there's less opportunity to show people your losses, or people aren't seeing, they're not seeing, your kids aren't seeing that on a daily basis. They're just seeing, the family holiday pictures in Mexico and the new car and the this and that. And they don't get to see and feel the losses like you used to maybe have to, um, as much. How do
Yeah.
you teach your kids that? And what advice do you give to parents out there? Um, what do you tell your kids to
I
encourage them?
I don't know if I'm very encouraging.
Yeah, so am I, but I agree.
I'm not like the empath, like my husband takes that role. Like, I'm probably a little bit harder than the average person, mostly because I grew up in an environment where my parents were immigrants and they were very frugal people, and you earned everything. We didn't get to go to a mall and just like buy stuff, like these kids do
Yeah.
today. That wasn't reality. It was like we got stuff beginning of school, Christmas. So I just tell my kids, I'm like, hey, like I say no a lot. I honestly do. And I think that that's what we don't do anymore.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just, and if you ask my kids, they'll be like, Mom's favorite word is now. And I'm like, yeah, you know why? Because nobody took me to Disneyland 3 times by the time I was 10 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you live a charmed life. So no, you don't need another pair of shoes. You don't need another purse. You don't need another. So no, I feel like there has to be this balance of like, do you want to give your kid a better life? Like we're so obsessed with that part.
Mm-hmm.
We're not obsessed with teaching them grit and teaching them determination and teaching them how to navigate their own life, right?
Yeah.
So my kids are in charge of, chores. They've statistically looked at like kids that do chores are more successful in life later on because they have what do they have? They have responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell them you're responsible for yourself. Like you may be 14 or 15, but you're responsible to come home and do your homework. You're responsible to know that your clothing is washed. And if it's not washed, that's your problem, right? If you don't have that sweatshirt, don't come cry to me about it. It's not my problem. Like,
Yeah.
you know where the washer is and the dryer, and you chose not to do there's like these natural consequences, right? Now, do I pick my kids and drop them off from school every day? Yeah. Do they go to a private school? Yes. Do it like, yes, my kids are 100% privileged. Okay.
Yeah.
But the day to day, they were treated how I was treated, which is like, I am not here to be your best friend right now or to give you what you want. I'm here to teach you how to thrive. Right. And
Yep.
so I always tell my daughter, I'm like, I have a job. Like being a parent is really a job. There's a point where that apex shifts, right? And we get to have that relationship because we did the work. But if you don't do the work, all you have is a liability for the rest of your life. So
Mhm.
I'm very hard on them. Like I don't buy, they earn things. They have to earn things and they have to work for things. And I have those conversations. I'm like, look, I'm not here forever. Like you have to want to be somebody and do something for yourself.
I love
So
it. Do you
yeah,
think you would have the success you have if your dad and mom would have allowed you to just stay in the house and
no,
work and not? No, I agree, right?
no.
I listened to your story. Because they forced you to be hungry. I do always say like if you're fed, it's hard to be hungry. And so with my kids, I think you and I are very similar in that path is like my kids want something. I'm like, I got 18 fucking jobs for you. Like, you ready? Like, I can put you in the
Go
recycling
shovel
center.
that
Like,
pile into
I
that
I
bin.
tell my son, like when I was 15, like I had a cutting torch in my hand and I was cutting iron. Like that's how I made money, right? On
Yeah,
Saturdays, I work in the recycling center and I bought aluminum cans and whatever else somebody'd be willing to sell us in Caldwell,
yeah,
Idaho. But I go,
yeah,
what I go, if you want money, there's an endless supply of money out there. You
yeah.
just gotta want to go get it. But the endless supply isn't coming from my account. Like
Same.
but if you want it, man, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in abundant, especially nowadays. So good for you. I was curious, like after I heard your story, and obviously you and I are same age, and kids are pretty close to the same age, and so I'm
I
I'm
also
always
make
trying to,
them deal with their own kid. I call them kid problems because parents these days get involved in everything.
yeah.
It's like I get the text from the mom. They're in the car. They're going 90 miles an hour down the freeway. Like Life 360, right? Like
Uh-huh.
the helicopter, I call it helicopter, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not in the car. Like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, and like they're teenage kids, right? They're starting to drive. They're 16, 15 years old, whatever. And now they're all going around, doing those things. And, you know, I I'm like, why are you calling me? Call your daughter.
Yeah.
If you're mad that she's going 90 miles, like these parents think they can parent through each other and like work around their kids and always be the nice guy. Guess what? Bad move.
Yeah.
Guess what I did? I went 110 down the freeway with my friends. There was no Life 360. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I find it to be kind of like a situation for me where we are making every decision for these children because of technology, every single one. They can't walk down the street without them being like, why are you at the corner store? Like nobody did that to me. I could be gone from 8 in the morning till 5 p.m. Nobody cared where I was. But man, if I didn't come home for dinner, there was gonna be pain, right?
Yeah.
But like
But
that's
until then, yeah.
like 12 hours
Yeah.
a
You
day you're
gotta
here.
you're not allowing them to be hungry. Like
Yeah.
and if and I think it's not just money. Like allow them to be hungry for like the zest of life, right? Like allow
And not
them to
scared.
hunger, want,
They're,
want for more, want for like whatever it is. Like I don't like
yeah,
I want my kids to want a lot of stuff,
me
right?
too.
Like I encourage them. Like I was talking to my youngest son, he has this hang up about New York. He's like, I goes, I don't know. When I graduate high school, I'm moving to New York. And I was like, okay. And I was like, why New York? I go, you've never even been to New York. And he's like, and I think it's just because it's the farthest point he can think of that's still in the United States. It's away from us, right? And he's 12. And he's like, he goes, and so last night he goes, hey, I got a gift card for my birthday in May and I want to buy an NYU lanyard. And I was like, he goes, I'm going to go to NYU, Dad. And I was like, great. Do you know where that's at? Like, have you ever done any research? Like, do you understand like what the cost is or how to get in or any of that? I said,
Yeah.
do the research. I said, if you want to go to NYU, I said, then let's go. Let's figure out how you're going to have to figure out how to get there. I said, they got a basketball team. They got stuff that you can do there. I said, but you better figure out how the fuck you're going to pay for it and how you're going to get in. I said,
Yeah.
but I want you to go to NYU. I just want you to figure out how to get there. And
Yeah.
once you figure that out, like I want you to do the thing. Like I've never even been to New York City. I've been to New York State, but never to New York City. And I was like, but if you want to go, fuck, give me a reason to go. I was like, but I don't,
You know
I'm
what,
not,
Brett? We'll all go.
yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Family trip to New York City. My
Yeah.
husband hasn't been, and my kids. I've been many times. My sister graduated from medical school at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx. So,
Okay.
so
Nice.
I've been in my youth, as I like to call it. I would go for a week at a time. My sisters, we'd all meet there. It's honestly one of the most amazing cities. The more I've traveled for Redwood the last 3 years, I have to say, like I'm kind of a country bumpkin. Like I like space. I like
Yeah.
to hike. I like to like be outside. I don't want my neighbor to be, 7 inches between my wall and theirs. But these major cities have been so cool. Like I'd never gone to Chicago until I'd gone to the round tables, like
So
it was, yeah.
let's get into it. How do you transition from Sims to Redwoods? And then how does that look?
I reached out to Redwood because I read a lot. I still read a lot, and I was sort of tracking this EV market a little bit. I bought a lot of auto shred. I bought 8,000 tons a month into a shredder, so it's like I got to know what's coming, like what
Yeah.
is happening. So I was very, very early days. Like still, even now is early if you're thinking about it. For
Yeah.
end of life, you still have a time. I think 2030 is really when it becomes at your doorstep. You're going to start to see these cars. But um, I was doing research on hybrid and EV batteries because I was seeing them in the yards. Like I'm going into these dismantling yards. I had one guy who was sitting on top. He thought it was so valuable. He hid it under his desk. I'm like, you're going to burn yourself down. Like, well, don't sit on the battery. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
We moved it out from under his desk. I helped him, but I was like, battery's not worth your life, man.
No.
So yeah, so I reached out to Redwood and I talked to, one of the people who was working here at that time. They were managing the business development team. They were looking to hire somebody with a commodities background. At that point, I'd bought a lot of non-ferrous. They needed to buy copper for the copper foil R&D plant that they were building, amongst other things. And I said no. He was
Yeah.
like, do you want to come work here? I'm like a no, like literally when my kids say my favorite words no, like when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that is my favorite word.
We're like, no, I just called to check in, but no, I'm
Like,
not really that interested
no,
yet.
I don't want to work here. I just want to like learn about EV batteries. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I want to buy commodities. I'm a commodities trader, right? It's essentially what I am. So if I see something, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to figure out what it is and how can I make money off this thing? Like,
Yeah.
even if I don't know what it is. I mean, I've even traded plastic when I needed to get something else. Like it just didn't matter to me what it is. I'll figure it out. So plastic's not fun though. It's very complicated. But yeah. And then he called me 2 or 3 months later, he's like, please just interview, let's talk to us. Da-da-da. So I interviewed with HR, blah, blah. And they made me an offer. And I was like, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, like what you're asking me to do is, this is a start. We're a startup, guys. Like, and because I had worked for Steve and we'd done M&A and we bought a yard in Oregon and we had yard, we tried to acquisition a yard in Tulare, California. I'd done a lot of that. I'm pretty well versed at the shit show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I am not coming for less than what I'm worth at this stage. So that negotiation happened and it took like 8 months. But honestly, the reason I worked for Redwood is because of my boss, Dustin, because he got hired like sort of in between all of that discussion. And he called me and I liked him. He's a really smart human being who has a background in automotive, worked for VW before he came to Redwood. Like, to me, I'm at a stage in my life where I just want to hang out with smart people. And he was somebody who's super motivated, super driven. We share those qualities, loves an idea, loves to make something come to life. And working with somebody like that is so much fun because he's always willing to listen to an idea and we are always like able to talk. I mean, right, we have a lot of bad ones, right? But then we've done some really cool stuff, really innovative stuff I never dreamed I would get to be a part of. And so my sensibility around him was right. I was like, I will come here and work for you if we can work out these terms. So yeah, so I went to work for Dustin. And that came with working and meeting a lot of really young, bright people. I mean, these sort of tech-driven companies, they attract a lot of talent. And I will tell you, like, I have learned so much from the people I work with and created like lifelong friendships, I would say, with them. And I think I work in probably the best team at Redwood. If you ask me, like, all of these people are just motivated and brilliant and hardworking and,
So this morning I sent out, I have a group with, I have a bunch of group text messages and I like for different, each business unit. And long story short, so I came across this video and I've seen it before and it's Kevin Hart and he talks about he just got addicted to winning, right? And he talks about in it, he goes, you want to win, and if you start surrounding yourself by winners, all of a sudden winning becomes addictive because you're surrounded by people that push and they know what it takes to win. They know how hard you got to do and how hard you got to go, and then they surround themselves by other winners. And so and all of a sudden you're winning together, but you're pushing for like bigger goals, not just on your small individual, but like all of a sudden you put all these winners in the same room and it just elevates the whole room, right? And you start
right,
really doing big projects and big things. And that's something that always fascinated me about the tech industry. But also just like startups that like have had really good success. And I think the ones that have had really good success, they've been really good at recruiting good people to build the nucleus. And then it's just
totally.
like you put that much dynamite in one room, there's
Something's
only
gonna
one thing
happen.
you're gonna get, and it's a fucking big explosion, right? And you can't, if you go in there with one little stick of dynamite and just a bunch of people, well, you might have some success if the leader's really good and he can really push. But if you put a bunch of dynamite, a bunch of smart people in one room, and you say, all right, this is the goal, this is what we're trying to get to. And they're all coming at it from their various experiences, their own angles, and their brain power. And you put that all together, I mean, it's hard to not have success, right? I mean, it's
I
got to
agree. Yeah.
almost be like a black swan event with the economy or something out of the blue that takes it down. But if you put that much together, you're going to have success. It's just a matter of what level of success you're going to have,
Right.
right? And it
I
sounds
mean,
like
and
that's
we're
kind of
led,
what
I
you're.
mean, our company is led by one of the greatest minds of our times. Like, Elon gets a lot of publicity for Tesla, but JB was CTO. Like, he's the technology officer who really built the supply chain and built the technology for the car. And I think that he's not a loud man, but he is absolutely brilliant, and he surrounds himself with people who are exactly as you said, very, very smart, motivated people who are doing innovative things at a level that, sometimes when I sit back and look at it, my brain is like, I'm mushy.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
compared to these people who can, build a microgrid from reuse batteries and build a CPU system to make them work together, because that's been the challenge. So that's the
Uh-huh.
technology. I mean, we just launched that this year. That's our big launch, is these Second Life EV packs and semi truck batteries that we're launching into microgrids. And he's willing to take the risk in a way that I find so innovative, because he does it first, right? So it's like he built the grid at our plant where we had a empty lot basically,
Yeah.
and then called a partner who had some AI. Caruso has these AI systems we can power, and just said, "Let's all do it together. Let's go. I have the batteries. They're in here. Like, let's
Yeah,
do
let's
this.
go build the thing. It's
Yeah,
like you're
let's
building the
do this."
plane while you're flying it, right?
Yeah, it's like 4 months they put that thing up. It was like it's so impressive, proved it out, and now it's a product and it's out there and people want it, and it's just amazing to me, the scalability, with the mindset of you're going to do it and you're just going to do it. Like whatever hurdles they come across, like we're just going to work harder, right? And
Yeah.
figure out how we meet the need. And it's just, but you only do that, like you said, with a team of people who are riding beside you, right? Um,
Yes.
so I do agree with you. Like we have a really cool situation at Redwood. It's, I think, rare. I think it'll go down in history. I think I'm really lucky to have been a part of it in any way. Um,
But you know why
so
that happened? I think it goes all the way back to what we just talked about. You made the phone call. Like, hey, what's going on there? Like, and I'm serious. Like, people, you gotta like show some interest and you gotta like make the call or ask the question. You just never know what's out there. And I hope people that logged into this podcast, if you stuck with us this long, like we could talk about scrap all we want to, and you're gonna hear the same shit about copper and this and that. And Abby
copper's
or
gonna go up,
Gabby
Brett.
works
Just
for a
kidding.
very Gabby works for a very innovative company. And I'm sure if you have EV batteries, if you have lithium ion or all the various sorts of batteries that exist, she's the one to call. Like, don't mess around. I do podcasts with people I do business with. It's just that simple. But she'll tell you what you need to know. She'll get you taken care of. But the reality of it is, like, what makes our industry good is the people that are in it and the brain power that whether you're eighth generation or second or first or whatever it is, like that's what I love about this podcast. That's what I love about our industry in general, is just talking to interesting people and getting their perspective. So if you want to know more about batteries, call Gabby. She'd love to talk to you
Give me a
about them.
lowdown.
But like hopefully people also get some lessons and they understand, like, it's not that anybody's any more special than the next person, but some people just got the willingness to make the phone call and reach out and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like
Yeah.
when you and I started talking, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like, let's get together and shoot the shit. Like that's what
Like,
let's
what are you
talk.
doing up there
Let's
in
talk.
Idaho?
Yeah, let's talk. And we don't do
Actually,
a ton of business. We do a little bit of business, but it's that's what this deal is about. You just never know where it's going to lead. You never know what's going to be
yeah.
the next up and coming commodity, material, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, there's
be
so much
ready.
happening in the manufacturing space, right? So it's like we're gonna have chips, we're gonna have I don't even know. I mean, the e-scrap market is wild to me. Learning about that has been really interesting too. It's just growing, growing, growing. So I think you guys do some of that too.
Yeah, a little bit. We were kind of going down that path for a while, but it became so it was a niche business for a while, right? And then it became commoditized. And just like anything, right? At some point, like it's a niche because there's only so much of it, and you can reuse this and do that. And all of a sudden, what do they call it? Where they basically there's a word for it where they basically take, like, it's got less copper, less gold, less silver, and they on the boards and whatever else. And all of a sudden, your $8 board now is a $1 board, and it just becomes very commoditized. So And then you had to have all these permits and
Yeah, the R2s.
accreditations to just be a recycler. I'm like, you don't have to do that to buy copper. You don't have to do that to buy this. Like, why do we have to do all? And I was like, so we just kind of pivoted away, and we
Yeah.
still take that material, but we don't. It's not. We're not super aggressive about it. Um, but I mean, we still handle it. Does that something that Redwood material? Is that something that you guys are
We're not,
involved
we're
in or
really just a
no?
battery. I mean, we want to reuse, we're all everything battery related for us,
Okay.
right? We're processing, recovering nickel, cobalt, and lithium. We want to make cathode active material to go back into a battery. We want to have a closed loop supply chain here in North America. We split lithium, which we run a hydrometallurgy facility, and basically you take the cleaner black mass or black powder, and you'll split the lithium from the nickel and the cobalt because it's the first step to remake battery materials.
Okay.
And so it's really special because it's the only one.
Yeah.
Everything else is in Asia. So when we look at the battery recycling landscape today, really nobody has done as much as Redwood has done to build infrastructure here from a manufacturing perspective.
Nobody's put the capital into it that you guys have to build
Yeah, I
the
me's
facility, right? I mean, like
right.
because in these facilities, whether it's an AI data facility or a
All money.
nuclear, I mean, whatever it is, the next level. I mean, these are capital intense
Yeah,
operations. I mean, to do what you guys do, and I haven't been down to the facility. I would love a tour
you got to come
here
anytime.
soon.
I live here
I'm on my way. I'm going to come over, but
in the
I,
suburban.
yeah, I'm going to bring this to our
Your
family,
wife, your
like the
kids, they
Griswolds
can
with
all
the
come check it
hair,
out.
hair in the Henderson with the head poking up. Yeah, it's gonna happen. But these are such capital intense operations that to do something that's only being done in Asia right now because their EPA, DEQ, whatever laws don't
They're
exist like they do
subsidized
here,
by the
right?
government.
So,
So
I mean, it's
yeah,
it's it's quite the undertaking, but it's awesome to see. Like that's what I love about it. It's
yeah,
it's great that it's being done here in America, in the USA. Like we are bringing like technology and manufacturing, and a lot of that is coming back. I mean,
right.
it is going to be here, and in the future is here if we're willing to kind of go along this path.
I think from a technology standpoint, it needs to be here if we want to be the leaders going
Yeah,
forward. Honestly,
absolutely.
I think the AI, the data center movement, the recycling and really closing loops. I mean, there's ways to use. We need more solutions around plastic. We need more solutions. I mean, we had glass recycling. It didn't become profitable anymore. All those are gone now. Like the history of recycling in this country was very strong. For a while until really the 90s. And then it all sort of just started to fall apart. And I think that that's something we really need to look at. It's a way for us to own our commodities and keep them instead of importing these, commodities we can't make or mine here, like silica and other things. And I think that if we haven't learned that lesson, it's sad because
Or we're
we
going to, and it's going to hurt, right? It's like any
we're the
lesson.
largest
Yeah.
consuming nation in the world. So
Yep.
we have the most downstream access to anything we want first, when you
Yeah.
think about it that way. We just don't want to spend the money to keep it. And if we put some upfront capital in, we can keep that gold here. We don't have to export it on a PCB board, right? We can
Yep.
keep it here, we can manufacture here, and then we can, over time, I think, lower the cost. But the initial capital injection, like you said, it's intense. Like it's a lot of money to do that here.
And I think there becomes a point, right? I mean, I've talked to equipment sales from other countries, right? And these guys come in and pitch a piece of equipment at me, and they say, and they said, when we're here in Europe or here, we sell equipment that they want to know the features. They want to know, like, they ask different questions than we ask in America. We say, how long does it take to pay it off? Like, what's the like? Because that's our mindset. It's capitalism, like full on, like, and it's a very different question than like what you just brought up. Like, can we close the loop as a country? Like not just on a certain commodity, but can you close the loop, like the manufacturing, all the way back to the use, back
Yeah.
to the recycling, back to the manufacturing? Can you close that whole loop as a country? And
Right.
there is certain opportunities that do make sense financially already, like steel,
Yeah.
aluminum,
Yeah. Well,
like other
that is,
commodities. But does it make sense like on some of these more, less lucrative and as a capitalistic country, you're kind of like some of it doesn't make financial sense. And I think that's where there needs to be a like that's the inflection point is it does it make sense financially? And if it doesn't, is it worth the investment, the outside investment, whether it's government or private public partnerships or whatever that looks like to close the loop? Or do we just need to come up with another way of packaging something? Like try and do away with that,
oh, that's
that type
helpful
of
too.
packaging, right?
Engineering
Like,
solutions, I think
yeah,
are, yeah, no,
like
I think
startup
that,
maybe go
I
the
think it's all
engineering
of,
side.
you
Yeah,
have to
hey,
do all of it.
we're not gonna let you make plastic bottles. You're gonna use cans or glass or whatever. I don't know the answer, right? But it still goes back to capitalism. It still comes back to does it
Yeah.
financially make sense? And when I think about a company like Redwoods, um, I think you guys are innovative. I think you guys, are been on the forefront of it for a long time. But I think that the reasoning is a there was somebody was smart enough to get a bunch of smart people in the right room that could
Mhm.
build things and do things, and when you do that, good things happen. So
I agree. Yeah, totally agree.
that's my take. So thank you, Gabby. Is any parting shots, parting words for anybody out there?
Parting words.
Any
I
good
don't know.
advice you want to share?
Um, you fall down, you get back up. I was hiking Castle Peak on Monday and I slid right down it. I can show you my leg right now.
Uh-oh. You got some mountain burn.
Yeah, it's true going down the mountain, true in life.
You go down faster a lot than you do going up.
Yeah, you're gonna eat it sometimes. And yeah, your pride suffers, man.
We're gonna go on a hike one of these days. I know,
Yeah,
Gabby. We talked about it. It's gonna happen. We'll put it together. Thank you
definitely.
for
Thank you,
taking the
Brett.
time. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Gabby, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Gabby?
LinkedIn, Gaby Olson,
Okay.
GabyOlson. I check that pretty regularly. So you can message me on there, friend requests me, and I'll send you my email.
All right. Get a hold of Gabby if you've got some batteries to move. They'll take care of you.
Love it.
Take care.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.